welcome.
Thank you.
We have a very exciting interview today, a process. We actually have a panel of 3 experts in the European Union in the subjects of mind control, nano implant technologies, robotization of humans, neurological weapons torture, gang stalking, and this entire allied subject matter. They are Magnus Olsson, Melanie Vritschan, and Dr. Henning Witte of the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What we'd like to do, and the format that we agreed on before the program, was to go and have and speak with each member of the panel. Will be speaking on their particular focus, starting with Magnus Olsson, then Dr. Henning Witte, and finally Melanie Vritschan. And then at the end of this, the panel will reconvene for a general discussion on where the technologies that are emerging now for mind control and electronic harassment and the attempted robotization of humans, and what steps that we as a human community can take to deconstruct this and create a positive future for us. So with that, I'd like to welcome Magnus Olsson to come up and begin the interview. And Dr. Henning and Melanie will be turning off their cameras. Okay, Magnus, welcome. You're the general manager of the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment, and I was very struck by a lecture that I saw that you gave in September 2012 in Stockholm, Sweden. It was entitled Nano Brain Implant Technologies and Artificial Intelligence. And the person who reported this, and I'll just read this briefly as an introduction. Magnus Olsson is blowing our mind away in the speech he held in Stockholm, Sweden in September 2012. 7 years ago, which must have been 2005, Magnus became a victim of non-consensual experimentation, having visited a hospital. He was sedated, and when he woke up, he couldn't recognize himself. His personality had changed. On his own homepage, mindcontrol.se, he explained some years ago, "For me, there was a day in life when everything changed. I went from life as a citizen in a demo map indicative country into a world where violence and torture was the norm. It was not a journey across continents, but in life circumstances. It also included a science fiction drama that completely shattered my mind. My name is Magnus Olsson. I'm 38 years old, studied in economics at the Cesar Ritz in Switzerland, American University of Paris, and Harvard, Boston during the years 1988 to 91. And in 1994, I started the company John Sandman, which became a well-known brand in the betting industry. So you're a very well accomplished person in mainstream society. Welcome, Magnus. We're very happy to have you here today. And is that what brought you to this field, this personal experience that you had?
Yes, for sure. It started out 2005, and I had to. It took me actually 2 years, almost three, to map what was going on, and there was not a lot on the internet to find about this kind of abuses. So I had to find my knowledge otherwise, and I had great success, and I learned quite quickly what I was targeted for, and why, and how it's going on. And yeah.
No, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, some people call it life science. Otherwise, it's pure military technologies, and these are actually being developed in a grand scale all over the globe, and people are suffering tremendous. That are victims of this kind of harassment, because it's actually takes away your whole spirit, and you can't focus on anything else, at least not in the beginning. I mean, when they connect the brain to super smart cloud grids, the human mind gets tremendous confusion is the result, and so I had to learn how to avoid the worst kind of attacks. But the voice to skull or synthetic telepathy, it actually means that you can read a person's mind, thoughts. You can even manipulate your memory systems and induce non-real memories in your brain. You can direct your dreams, and you can which they already could do in the 70s, voice to skull, when they can communicate with you as you as a victim. It appears like somebody is talking to you, and you can talk back with your thoughts alone. So it's a very advanced technology, but it has been developed now for almost 60 years, and as I have understood, these smart grids that they need is being. I mean, they cover the whole Earth today by both by the satellite system, the HARP system, and the different kind of other smart grids that are adaptable with all of them are adaptable with HARP. So actually, there is no way where you can go and hide and get a shelter from this kind of harassments. It's impossible to find some kind of shelter. So it's a very tough situation, and it leaves man completely alone in your work, because as the DSM-5 and so on, it tells the doctors that you are mentally ill when you hear voices. And that means that the victims don't get any help anywhere, even if they go to the hospital. They are just denied the fact that they are saying that this is fantasies and this is not possible. But it was already possible in 1974 by the LIDA machine. The Russians could induce voices into a person's head. And you can hear it loud and clear. They can even adjust the volume. So the interaction with my brain has now been going on for almost 8 years. And this does not just apply on a communication system as a communication system. It can also do things as stimulate. your brain parts to different kind of potentials. Like they could, for example, with stimuli to arise your erotic and your sexual. I mean, they can arise different kind of evoked potentials in your mind. So what they are doing now, as I have understood, is that they are mapping the brains in large scale operations, and you have the artificial intelligence in the bottom. You even have the quantum clouds coming up now, which actually breaks all the natural laws that we were as we know by science before. So what's happening is that you can induce, you can extract pictures into the brain and also record your dreams. So what is going on right now is that the military is doing a kind of armor race all over the world to adapt systems that are actually inflecting humans in a grand scale, and this technology could of course be used for the best for humankind, but as it is right now, this is a very dark operation that is going on, and as these implants that they need, they just need like markers that you could even breathe in, and or get an injection in your bloodstream. These nanoparticles can go over the blood barrier and then find its way out in the bloodstream and actually attaches itself to the right frequency in the brain, and then you have a connection. So there is millions of brains, as I have understood, all over the world that it's already into this system, and it's a kind of culture mapping as well. So the artificial intelligence, as we know already, that NSA's artificial intelligence spy center understand and all languages all over the world, and even six languages that are dead. So this artificial intelligence is so highly advanced, and it can makes its own decisions. It can learn by itself, and so on. So letting this kind of artificial intelligence loose into people's brains, they call it pipes that feeds the artificial intelligence, and one pipe is then my brain to the mainframe computers, which have supercomputers for all kind of senses, experiences, and so on. So these supercomputers are just learning right now, and learning it worldwide. So it's a very fault-tolerant system as well. So it seems to work as they have predicted. So what I would like to say to all of you who listens to this is that the Orwellian style of the thought police is already here, and what I mean with that is that I mean this kind of technology can inflect in all kind of your cognitive reactions in your social life.
So, what you're saying is that people are now being invaded on a non-consensual basis, are becoming pipes or brains connected into this system on a non-consensual basis. Is it possible that they are unwitting, that they're unconscious that this is happening, or do they know that they are being taken over, such as you knew?
That's one of the most important questions, and I can answer it very easily because as I have understood this, there is over 6 million people were connected to this only in Europe for around 6 years ago. And only a little fraction knows that they are connected, because this system is supposed to work subliminal. So the target actually do not understand at all that they are connected to the super grids.
Right. Now, you mentioned several times the concept of the quantum cloud. Could you explain that a bit more?
Yes, the quantum cloud. I mean, the first super quantum computer that was built in the Utah Spy Center by NSA, and the reports that has been filed from that kind of technology is that it can do things that only parapsychological things actually. Things that you cannot understand how they are done, and they are using this kind of things to trick you and even to manipulate you into being a sheeple, and if you do not accept being connected, you get a lot of different kind of potentials that can arise for you in a very bad manner.
Right. Now, you use the word sheeple. Does that imply that there's a social or a political agenda here in your estimation?
In my estimations, I would say that this is pure politics, because I mean the military is preparing itself and has been for 40 years now around these technologies, and they can even today, if they just have your DNA, they can connect people to the grids. They also use the RF modulation through the power grids. So there is several of thousand kind of grid systems that works in different manners. But they are all connected to the HARP system. So what we have here is it's an agenda to make man controlled, and do not understand that you are controlled, because that's the whole point of view here. That nobody should understand that they are victimized, and in the long run, then of course this gets very political, because I mean, who should decide what and where and when whatever kind of potential should be used against a human citizen? in any country in the world. Do understand that this has already gone very far. So there are people committing terrible crimes that are actually just guinea pigs for them to explore the technology, the technology's capabilities.
Right. Now, you also mentioned dreams. One of the terms that has been suggested with that is dream warfare, where they can implant dreams, as you stated, or read your dreams or broadcast dreams. Is that something that you've come across?
Oh yes, they have been manipulating and directing my dreams in very terrible manners. They can actually almost run like a program that tries to program you while you are asleep. So you can wake up with sensations that are not natural. And you can get fed even with information that you couldn't require from anywhere else but the systems. And they have tried, and they are trying some good potentials as well on me. They can, for example, get me to feel I can almost literally go around and smile for a couple of days and feel as nothing worries me, and I feel great. But then it could follow. It always follows up with some kind of terrible agenda on the side. So they have been using good cup, bad cups ways. They are using all kind of stimulation, and the brain stimuli, the transcranial brain stimuli, is the worst kind of sensation you can imagine, because it feels almost like the brain is boiling in different parts, and if they do want, they can stimulate me, and I actually shakes in my whole body, and afterwards it follows up with a tremendous show of old memories flashing by, as in a couple of minutes I can get a short review of my whole life, of my all kind of experience, even smells, even pictures, and so on. And this is what a lot of people actually that have been experiencing this almost dead experience, that you get a short review of your whole life, and I have experienced it a couple of times. So they can really do tremendous things. They can, induce pictures that are so clear that you do not believe that it's almost too good to be true. But this is happening, and they are using it, at least on me, for controlling my senses and my way of life. And as I got very aware and had read kilometers of articles and science reports, I do understand that whatever you wish, you can almost do with the human brain, because we are actually just using around 10% of it, and the rest can be activated, and you can be implanted with different kind of memories that are not real. And this is very interesting, because then you can start to think about the genes and the genome. The genome you can take out of a brain implanted person in around 1 week, and then you can actually have like switches where you can switch off degenerative diseases like cancer or other kinds of genetic diseases. So you can also put them on, so that you can bring out cancer in a human being, and you can even use this by evoking the galloping cancer that you die in a couple of weeks. And so, as I have understood, they are using this. They have been using this in South America with a lot of politicians that have died in very short time period of galloping cancer.
Right. Now, we're just about at the end of the segment with you. How do you overcome? What techniques do you use to personally cope with and overcome these challenges on a daily basis?
Well, the first and most important point is to get in very good condition. I run around 5 kilometers every day actually. So after I started with that, it's much easier. You have to be in very strong mental fitness to be able to always, when they do induce some kind of evoking potential, you have to have like an agenda that you always shelter yourself through swapping technology, but man-made mind protection, like swapping your memories or your kind of you really have to be able to find ways to be able to break the evoking potentials.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we would like now to talk with Dr. Henning Witte, who is the legal advisor to the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment. Welcome, Henning.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to be on your show.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, you've just heard many of the things that Magnus has just said, and the experience that he is going through is now being felt by more than 6 million, but substantially more, with many of the footprint activities of devices like HARP, which are being used. I'm not sure. We're getting a lot of microphone kind of chatter, static here, but from a legal point of view, is there a way to use the laws for example, the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union, or Charters of Rights and Freedoms, or the Declaration of Human Rights, or the U.S. Bill of Rights? How can we as citizens begin to use the law to tackle this? Can we at all?
Theoretically, yes, but in practice, no. I'm a European business lawyer, and I have a lot of law experience from Sweden and Germany since more than 25 years ago. And the problem is you can't pinpoint who is doing it. We know that the secret services, most of them have access to the technology, We know that the United States and Russia had been leading, and after them Sweden. But we can't, in each case, exactly pinpoint somebody to take them to court, because the technology is so advanced that there could sit a guy in China and remote control you in Canada. So that's a problem. We don't have enough proof who is behind it.
Now, perhaps my memory escapes me, and you perhaps know about this particular case, but I remember, because I was active during the 1980s and later in the fight to keep the U.S. missile defense out of Europe in the peace movement. And there was an issue whether or not the U.S. had implanted EMF machines in the European Parliament and in various parliaments. And in fact, it was found that they had, and there was some parliamentarians that brought this issue up, and there was an official report. Do you recall that, or did that ever come?
No, not the EMF part of that. No, I don't recall that.
Oh, okay. This is an issue that I know that groups here in the U.S. and I believe in Europe have brought up, because there have been discoveries that EMF machines have been implanted in the U.S. Congress. They've been implanted in the courts, so that lawyers who go in are hit with frequency weapons, so that Congress people and legislators and members of Parliament are hit with frequency weapons. And I believe that I've read that it's occurred in the European parliaments also. And those are frequency weapons that can be found and identified, and where specific alliances can be made with the parliamentarians. And I think that there was a case in the 80s or in the 90s where there was a report there. I'm just bringing it up.
I don't remember it, but nowadays the technology is so advanced, you don't need to install devices in the separate room. You can make it from outside. You can make it from every point on the world, because the beaming is going through the Earth.
Right.
And there's no escape in that way.
Right, right. So how do you approach this particular subject, both within the European coalition and as an individual that is dedicating your life to bringing this issue forward and to deconstructing and rolling this challenge to the human race back?
Yeah, a short background. I was in Sweden, the legal representative of the victims from the Estonia catastrophe, the Estonia ferry boat, which sank in '94 in the Baltic. And everybody said it was an accident, but I could prove it was deliberately done. And then I got chased by the secret services here in Sweden, which forced me to make a diving into literature, which is not usual. Especially I got books from David Icke, translated to Swedish. And David Icke made a very good research on mind control. So that was my first contact in 97, 98. And then shortly after that, in about 99, one family member in Germany came up to me and said, "Oh, I have problems. I hear voices in my skull 24/7. They are playing Mickey Mouse films and porn films in my skull. They are making gang stalking. And the family is thinking I'm crazy." And I was the only one who understood he's not. I contacted Andreas von Bülow, who is a colleague to me in Germany, and he is known in the 9/11 movement. He wrote a very good book there, revealing that the CIA and so on is behind it, because he was the controller in the German parliament over the German secret services during more than 10 years, and he was part of the German government under Helmut Schmidt. And he said, after my family member made measurements, scannings, sending them to the German Defense Department. And the German Defense Department answered, yes, we know that the Americans are making research on German guinea pigs, but we can't do anything. And then Bülow said, no, you must contact them. You must contact the American embassy in Germany, a special guy there. I suppose it was a CIA guy. So my cousin was giving this to this evidence to this guy, and some days later he was off the hook. No films, no voices, nothing.
Huh.
And that showed me very clearly that he was not crazy, that it was technology. And because I was chased by the secret services, and the Swedish media especially always censored me when I came up with proof that the Estonia was sank, I always said, I want to have my own television one day.
Right.
So 2 years ago, I got online with White TV, whitetv.se. And when I presented this international web television channel for a group in Sweden, several came up and said, oh, we have problems with mind control. Can you make an interview with us? And then I started to make a huge puzzle, because as a lawyer, I thought it is difficult to have the evidence what's inside people's brains. So if I collect testimonies, then people at least can see the body language of the guys and what they tell. And you can make a pattern. So now I have made more than 80 interviews, filmed them, and published about 50 in different languages. And there I got a very, very good knowledge how these people feel, that they are not making it up, at least the majority. And I got the experience and kind of got an expert on that issue. And when I had published several of those interviews, a guy from the Swedish Secret Service in summer 2011 contacted me and said, Henning, do you know they are using scalar waves on the targeted individuals? And I said, hops, scalar waves? What is that? Never heard about it. Had a good education in school in physics, but this was new to me. So in the summer 2011, I made a thorough research on scalar waves. Found Tom Bearden, the American Lieutenant Colonel Tom Bearden. He had published a lot of that stuff, and I found the Professor Konstantin Meil in Germany. And I found that there is the most important part of physics kept secret for more than 100 years. Kept secret because it explains how life is working, and it explains how we get access to free energy. That's why there's a cover-up. And the guy who usually detected the first scalar waves was Nikola Tesla. In the Wardenclyffe Tower experiment in Colorado Springs in 1897, when he was very famous, everybody came up to him and looked how he could send electricity wireless 42 kilometers from the transmitter to light bulbs without a cable in between. And the interesting thing was he could send more energy to the light bulbs than he had put into the transmitter, and the wave transmitting the electricity was quicker than light. And therefore he found the scalar wave. Because the scalar wave is propagating sometimes quicker, sometimes slower than light, not like electromagnetic wave. It is another type of wave. They call it also a longitudinal wave, like the sound waves. That means it is mostly between transmitter and receiver and not everywhere. And here we have to compare to what everybody is knowing, that is the electromagnetic wave. So the most targeted individuals think, oh, we are targeted by electromagnetic waves. Those waves which Heinrich Hertz detected in 1888, I think it was. And then the first thing those victims do, they go to a Faraday cage, or they have lead on the clothes, or one Swede, he went beneath 700 meters beneath the earth, and there was no escape. Others, they take an airplane and fly intercontinental very high. There's no escape, because that's another type of waves. If it would be electromagnetic waves, they would be free, even in the Faraday cage. This shows clearly that they are not a victim of that. And the conspiracy started also when James Clerk Maxwell died in the 70s, in the 1870s. It was a British mathematician who is famous for the Maxwell equations, describing waveforms. And when he died, Heaviside and Gibbs came up, other physicists, and falsified his equation, putting the part for the scalar waves to zero with the argument, we haven't found scalar waves, so they don't exist, which is very stupid. It was indeed so that Hertz had found the electromagnetic wave, also described by Maxwell, and so everybody focused on that. And when then Nikola Tesla said, oh, hello, I have a new kind of waves, and nobody cared about him, because those who financed him, like J.P. Morgan, they saw, oh, that's dangerous. He has access with the scalar wave to free energy, because the scalar wave is collecting neutrinos on its way. And that nobody should know, because then they can't sell the oil and expensive electricity and so on. And that's why Tesla never got a Nobel Prize and so on. He was pushed down. All this part of physics was pushed down. And this is, of course, very convenient now to use this physics for the little tiny group in the military and DARPA and those guys knowing about it. And the majority can't explain it because nobody studied about it. So that's a problem. So our research on mind control put a focus on the most vital part of physics, which is kept secret and now popping up slowly by Bearden and Professor Meyer. And therefore, I contacted an American company called Q-Wave, because they sell devices you hang around your neck. And
I've got one here.
Oh, from Q-Wave.
Yes.
Yes. Which one? They have different ones.
I don't know. It's one of the
look on the
one
name.
of the early ones. Yeah.
What's on the name? What's the name of the device? If you look on.
Yeah. Let's see. I can bring it out right here. It's this one here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they are the only ones producing also against mind control for target individuals. Because
right.
In this they have a little Mobius coil transmitting scalar waves.
Right.
And then this is the only way which we figure out is helping is destructive interference. You need to send scalar waves against the scalar waves beamed on the targeted individuals to wipe them out. The problem is, we tested it on several individuals, Magnus as well.
Yeah.
In the first days, they got a relief.
Yeah.
But then those bastards making the mind control got around it and strengthened the signal.
Oh, Magnus, yeah, I don't have your visual back yet.
Let's try again. It's obvious they don't like it.
Yeah. You were giving away all their secrets.
Yeah. We have now started, that is also important to mention, I got an insider tip, a hint, that gold gives a protection against mind control.
Oh.
So the most of the target individuals are without money. The first step the perpetrators do is to strip them of their money so that they can't defend themselves.
Oh.
And so they can't afford to buy a helmet with gold or something like that. But you can take homeopathic gold.
Oh.
That means you buy the frequency of gold. It is not expensive in Germany. You can get it in every pharmacy. And we have now started and have a little relief. For example, Magnus sleeps better now. And he says the targeting is not so intense any longer. The problem is you need to test exactly what is needed for your body, what kind of frequency potence for this homeopathic gold. It is called aurum metallicum, and then you have different levels of radiation. They call it D20, D30, C100, and so on. The thinner, the higher, and the more expensive. But it costs around about $30 or something like that. It is not so expensive. So I recommend for every TI, test homeopathic gold, probably also monoatomic gold. This we have not tested.
Right. Very good. Well, you know, with that we've actually come just about to the end of your segment. Is there any special message that you would like to give to our audience in this year?
First, it is 5 minutes to 12 that everybody is shipped, because it is now so easy to make it either by nanoships, or you can target the DNA. If you have the blood from people, that's why they are collecting blood from everybody, from babies and so on. If you have access to the DNA is an antenna receiving and transmitting scalar waves. If you have access to the DNA, you can control the guys. And we have estimations that about 80 to 85% in the world can get controlled. There is a minority between 10 and 15% of people which they can't target. We don't know exactly why, but that's for sure. That not everybody is on the hook. But my second message is, don't give up. We are working hard on countermeasures, and we will find them, and we will liberate everybody. Excellent. And of course, one of our means is to spread the information, because nobody is aware about it. Nobody knows it, because this is so secret, this so covert, this technology. Yeah, but basically I sent my message out. Don't give up. Everybody will get liberated. This will be a topic in some years, and then we will get rid of the problem.
Excellent. We're now going to bring on Melanie Vritschan, who is the public relations director of the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment. Welcome, Melanie.
Thank you, Alfred, for having invited us to your show.
Oh, this has been my pleasure and my education. You really wanted to focus on directed energy and neurological weapons of torture and abuse, and talking about the silent Holocaust. Could you begin to talk about that?
Yes. So it was important for me that our viewers understand what actually these victims of these remote influencing technologies are going through, because it's important to understand, I think, that it really is torture. In fact, what we have realized is that most of these victims either underwent surgery and then woke up and realized that they were subjected to some kind of radiation, or had either vaccines or some kind of injections, because right now it is really easy to implant somebody. All you need is a needle, basically. So, I mean, I can, from my experience, but it's very much alike that what other victims report, is that I had indeed in 2008 surgery, And when I woke up from this, very soon afterwards, I realized that my body was actually extruding some foreign material, which was rather odd, fibers, seeds, granules of different colors, which was rather worrying. And I saw many doctors. Nobody could help me and explain what was going on. But what I then, did my own research and fell onto the report of a toxologist, of an American toxologist, who was called Dr. Hildegard Stenninger, and gradually understood that the particular technology I was targeted with is a technology that's called smart dust, that you also know under Magellan, and it was developed and financed by DARPA. So to come back to the torture, is that very soon afterwards then I realized what unfortunately most of these victims of these technologies realize, is that you are then hit by directed energy weapons, and I can tell you it is torture. Which is really terrible, because it's something you can really not defend yourself against. I think Henning before mentioned that most of the victims then go through a phase where they're put, on their bodies what is so-called like a tinfoil hat, or lead apron, or try to protect themselves with some kind of shielding material, which doesn't help at all. It is very terrible. It is really torture, which makes a little bit of mockery of the Article 3, I think, of the European Convention on Human Rights. Nobody shall be subjected to torture. And the very sad story is that the victims basically, because they can't find any help, they go to the police. It's mostly treated as some psychological disorder, or not followed up. And we had in the last year especially, but in many cases then it's very sad to say, but it results often in suicide out of desperation, because they can't find any help anywhere there. So it is really, really terrible. And you could say that, okay, if one or two people telling these stories, you can still, put it down to some delusions. But, if we find that all of these victims in all of these, European countries and beyond, of course, are basically telling the same story.
Right. So again, now you mentioned the Obama Bioethics Commission.
True.
And the report. Could you tell us, that has not come out? Could you tell us more about that process?
Indeed. It has not come out yet. One's wondering why, actually. But what I could tell you is that I'm also, before we founded the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment, we actually founded an organization that is a little older, which is called the International Center Against Abuse of Covert Technology. In this organization, what we're doing is we're scanning people for radio frequency emissions, so that these scans are offered free of charge. And within this organization, we did indeed, I think it was 300 victims. We attended the Presidential Bioethics Commission of President Obama, and the victims testified there. Basically, these testimonies are online. You can view them, and they basically describe what I just described. The being tortured and hit by directed energy weapons. And right. You're very right, Alfred. This report. This was in 2011, and we're now end of May 2013, and still this report hasn't come out. And
right.
Wonder why.
So this may have been just a cosmetic exercise.
Yeah, it can be suspected, because it is certainly strange that we still haven't seen any report.
Now, you mentioned three things that what has to happen. Well, before we go there, you mentioned that it is necessary to explain your efforts in Brussels, in the European Parliament, etc., what you as an organization are doing, both in media broadcasts like this, to make people aware of the facts that you're just explaining now. Could you tell us about that?
Yes. So the European Coalition Against Covert Harassment is quite young. We actually founded it just last month in April. We did that because it was very clear that with ISA Act, although we had scanned many people, in the United States and also in Europe, we wanted to focus our efforts really on Europe and especially the European institutions to make them first of all aware of the problem, and of course ultimately we would like to have appropriate EU legislation created to protect the innocent citizens from these kind of abuses. So this is why we created UCatch, and what we did, within the framework of UCatch is indeed there is in the respective parliamentary committee that takes care of these domestic issues is the Committee for Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs. So I think in January this year, when we were in the process of discussing to create UCatch, I took contact with an MEP, a member of the European Parliament that I personally knew, and talked to him about this issue, and asked him that for a meeting, and we met with a few people. Magnus also was part of this initial meeting, and exposed this problem to him. And I think he took this very seriously, because he said, well, I think this is indeed a grave danger.
Right.
And then suggested that we would organize a meeting, a presentation in front of this parliamentary committee that deals with such issues.
Oh, good.
We are in the process of setting that up.
So, good. So there's been some actual movement.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Good. Now, could you explain to us the Nuremberg Code, the Declaration of Helsinki, some of the treaties, just so that those of us who aren't familiar with those become more familiar with the tools, what they are?
Yes, I mean the Nuremberg Code was basically created after the Second World War, because there was horrible human rights violation that was going on these experimentations in the concentration camps and
right.
all what we know, and it actually requires informed consent of if whenever there's some medical experiment,
right.
that the person that is experimented on needs to give his or her informed consent,
right.
which obviously with the technology we're victimized with is not the case. Because, this was basically how do you say, also stated in the Declaration of Helsinki that this ethical.
Okay, so it's clear that the controllers, because we've had a lot of outside interference on this Skype session, which is beyond technical difficulties. There are tools out there, including the Geneva Conventions, the European Convention of Human Rights, the Nuremberg Code, the Declaration of Helsinki, which are actually treaties or ethical principles. How can these help us, and do you use these in your work?
Well, they should be able, to help us technically, and we use them because we refer to them. But considering, I mean, it's my personal opinion, and what has happened to us, the technologies we've been victimized with against our consent, and I mean but there's thousands of others. I personally believe that the Nuremberg Code, for example, which is more like a recommendation on, as you said, an ethical principle, is not sufficient. Clearly not, because otherwise, how can that these complaints of the victims of these remote influencing technologies have, grown so exponentially? So for me, this is a clear indication that what we have in place is not sufficient. And this is why I think we need to really get to a point where we have a legislation that clearly, forbids, has a global ban on any technologies or weapons that enable manipulation of the human being.
Right, and we'll deal with these subjects during the panel session. Now, we're coming to the end of your segment, and I just wondered, is there any final message that you'd like to leave the viewers in this regard?
Yes, I would like to. My message joins a little bit what Henning said. I would say to these victims, I mean, it is really horrible, but don't give up. Because we're determined to, bring this to an end. And I think the start we had already succeeded, one meeting in the European Parliament, and there will be another one, and our voice will be heard. And I just would like to say that to these victims, I mean, it's terrible being tortured, by somebody, and you have no power about this to stop that, and I know it's really horrible, and it sometimes seems really hopeless, but it is not. And I could only say that, I mean, for us, I think we really have taken this very personal commitment to do anything that is in our power to, make our voice heard and bring these horrible abuses of human rights to an end.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, we now coming to the panel portion of our program, and we'd like to ask Henning and Magnus to turn on their cameras and to join us. And I'm going to put in 3 questions, actually, or 3 issues, and we can address more. But just to start with, these are 3 issues, and I'll just put them in the chat because these will be questions that we can ask each member of the panel, and then we can go on to discuss other issues. And I think that Melanie first started the discussion, and we'll go in the order that we started. In other words, starting with Magnus and then with Henning and then to Melanie. The first question is, what has to happen to stop these crimes? That is, what is our basic path forward here? Number one, in terms of an international ban on weapons that enable any form of manipulation of the human being. Do we have such a ban, and is it effective? And, is it going to make a difference? And so I asked that question first to you and Magnus, and then we'll just go around the panel. Yeah, Magnus, can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Okay, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Well, what we're doing here is to establish a network in Europe with victims and testimonies, and for sure we are lobbying as much as we can towards the EU Parliament, but we are also determined to move towards the government all through Europe with the same kind of declarations that we are doing towards the Parliament. So what we're doing here, we are also collecting testimonies, as I said, and there is a lot of members in our organization already, and we are very new. But we are also including more and more people from the scientific communities around in Europe, and we also have some doctors involved in this. So the proofs with the scannings is something that we also is going to conduct all through Europe, and with actual proof that we already have. I have been through the phase 1, 2, and 3 scannings of ISAC, and they are very speaking for the proof of frequencies going in and out of my brain, even in a closed environment like in a Faraday cage. That means that people and the legal departments all through Europe can't just say that this is not a fact, because when we have done this in the Faraday cage with approval from the authorities, just a couple of months before we used the Faraday cage, and I mean, what we will do is also to try to track the nano markers that you can have a couple of hundreds of thousands actually that are working internally. So we will also try to get in hold of equipment that can scan and or X-ray your brain tissues, so you can establish proof that way also. So what we're doing here is one of the we're acting against the worst crime ever committed, and I would call it terrorism, because this is very, very, very tough. There are people dying out there. There are people committing suicide because of this, and they are really, and I understand them very, very well, because I've been there by myself. So I know exactly how tough it is to be a victim and to suffer so tremendously that you're actually losing all connection towards your social network, because people don't understand and do not know that these kind of weapons are being developed on the citizens of Europe and worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Henning.
Yes.
What do you think as the legal director here? An international ban. I mean, we have the Convention Against Torture, but it and all of the conventional definition of torture don't really include this new technology, this new genre. What is your opinion about how we should approach getting the international legal ban defined?
Yeah, an international ban should be made by the United Nations. That's the best forum we have today for it. There is a Covert ban from the 70s against HARP. And there one could connect, because HARP is very close connected with mind control. This should be the best way, but it is difficult to get the politicians and the members of the United Nations convinced, because they are all mind controlled.
Yeah. Are you perchance referring to the 1976 Treaty Against Environmental Modification?
Yes. This is not officially, not everybody could see that they made it kind of secretly.
Yeah.
And it came up when the Russians started to interfere with the American weather.
Yeah.
And Chernobyl was also connected to that. It was so horrible that the Russians started and said, let's make a ban on it on an international level. And then they said, okay, don't make it officially, but we have a covert rule in the United Nations against it. And this was signed, but nobody cared about it.
Yeah. Yes. Melanie, what are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, I think it's very difficult to prove.
Okay, welcome back. We're now with the panel with Magnus and with Henning. We're going to be bringing Melanie later because we're having some technical difficulties with her line. Magnus, you had something important that you wanted to say about a media company, a very large media company.
Yes. For a couple of months ago, I was contacted by Russia Today. And Russia Today is the fastest growing news network in the world. They are already one of the biggest. And they contacted me and wanted to do an interview. So we have done this interview and it will be aired in 2 weeks worldwide with at least over 10 million viewers at the first stage. So that's also how we work in EUCASH, European Coalition Against Covert Harassment, that we are working together with media. And that might be the biggest ever news company that have brought this question up and put and want to put a lid on it.
Excellent.
So that's very, 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 very positive, and it went very well. So it will not die with this first interview. There is a second interview already scheduled.
Very good. Very good. Let me go to the second question on our panel and follow up with you, and that is to how these are actual war crimes under the Geneva Conventions of crimes against humanity, genocide, etc. How do you hold these war criminals accountable for their acts and bringing some form of justice in terms of compensation to the victims, in your opinion, and that your organization is working toward?
Well, to establish proof is already done. It's being done by ISAC, and we work together with them from time to time. So the proof is on the way in a grand scale. So and we will use it in many different ways. But as I mentioned, the media is very important, and they have been completely shut off when it's about this subject before. There has been Washington Post have done something about synthetic telepathy, and also already in the 70s, New York Times had a leading article on the front page called the push bottom people that describes already then that they could do a lot with remote influencing technologies.
Very good. Yeah, Henning.
Thanks to this New York Times article, it was not only one but several, in the 77 I think it was, and the establishment in the United States got compelled to establish the so-called Church Committee.
Yes.
And from Frank Church, senator. And in the Church Committee, a lot of horrible things from the CIA came up, the MK Ultra program and so on. And they paid compensation to everybody, around about $100,000 to each victim. So it was possible, and there was an excuse from President Clinton as well. So the Obama administration should follow up on this unfortunately, their commission is working and working and never ending, and they threw out the targeted individuals that they are not welcome any longer. But that is in the United States a possible way to go and has been done. In the other countries, it is more difficult. The problem is that the technology of mind control is so sophisticated now after more than 60 years that almost every politician and every journalist is mind control. Right. Therefore, they don't take it up. And the judges are, or the courts. It is horrible. So I don't see it is in practice happening very quickly, because who are the criminals? We can't pinpoint exactly who it is, and the evidence we got yet is only that there is covert harassment, but not who's doing it.
Right. Now, this brings us to the third question, and in a way we've begun to answer it. And the third question is, what is the most appropriate way, court or tribunal, to judge the war crimes? How should we proceed? And I want to follow up, because Henning just brought up a very interesting point. Here in Canada, we face the same issue with crimes against humanity and genocide against the Aboriginals.
Yeah.
Because the courts were run by the same government that committed the genocides. Mm. And so here, there was a tribunal formed, a citizen-based tribunal, Tribunals of Conscience, the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State.
Mm-hmm.
And they had what's called common law courts of justice, where you had citizen juries that have now put on trials in Canada, in Europe. Now they're going into Italy. There's some information that they even forced the resignation of the recent Pope Ratzinger, or helped force it. Yeah. So what about this concept of, as an interim measure, to begin to work with a citizen-based tribunal?
Yeah, it's better than nothing, but it's not helping very much, because those tribunals are not powerful. They can't force people to show up. They can't force people under oath and things like that. Because in our democracies we have the usual courts, and it's difficult to go around them. But of course they are mind controlled and not working as they should work. So that's really a problem. But the main problem is we can't pinpoint a special guy who is responsible.
Yeah, but I would be very happy to put you in touch with researchers who are beginning to find responsible parties for the operation of HARP and other programs of mass mind control that can be held responsible, number one. And number two, with parties, because I myself am a judge on the Kuala Lumpur War Crimes Tribunal, which is a tribunal of conscience. And there are methodologies whereby you have a properly constituted court and you serve the defendants and you have witnesses, and if the defendants do not appear, well, you can appoint counsel for them, and you still have a process, and you have a record, and you have evidence and witnesses, and then you have a judgment, and that can be put online. And under principles of natural law applies, and you're enforcing social law, which is all of the international humanitarian standards against genocide. I just kind of offer that to you. What are your comments on that, and what are your feelings about that?
Yeah, it's better than nothing, but the most essential effect is a media effect, and we are already working on that track.
Right.
So I don't know whether we should focus on it, because it's not leading so long And how do you finance it?
No, yeah, it takes a great deal of effort. For example, the International Tokyo Tribunal into War Crimes in Afghanistan was financed by Japanese citizens over the course of 3 years. You would have to have donations of citizens would be needed to finance it. I'm just making suggestions that tribunals of conscience, citizens' tribunals of conscience, also are one tool that you may want to look at. That's all.
Yeah, that's not bad. I personally decide, because I'm a lawyer, what is the best way to go.
Yeah.
The law way is not, the legal way is not the best way to go.
Right.
The best way to go is to find protection, because this is the easiest way. We know now principally how the technology works.
Right.
We need now people, technology skilled people, to build devices sending out scalar waves for destructive interference and so on. That is quickest and easiest way, and therefore we would appreciate if we can get some of the money which is thought for the courts for making research to protect victims.
Right.
That is the most practical way to get them off the hook. Everything else can follow later and is not giving the result we need.
Right. Could you talk about your vision and your plans for the future? What are some of the plans that you have in the works?
Besides the Oikos plan that we try, that the European Union, the Parliament and the Union is coming up with a law, as we already have in Russia and California and Michigan and other states in the United States, but not totally for the United States. That is a quite good point. But you see, in Russia it is since 2001, and I know a lot of Russian victims, clients to me, who are chased in Russia, so that didn't help so much. What really helps is to have for every individual a kind of shelter, protection device. And therefore I focus on that, and then they try and it is in vain, because you will never get to the main culprits behind the scenes. They are so powerful that even if you have evidence against them, you can't play it out in court. That I learned in the Estonia catastrophe. I can prove that the Estonia was sank deliberately. I went to court to Paris, but the judges are so influenced in Paris that they killed the litigation against the rules. So what do you do?
Yeah. Could you name some of the people or some of the interests that you think are behind these programs?
Yes, it is easily said that the Illuminati.
The Illuminati, yes.
Yes, and they use as a tool the secret services.
The secret services.
In the secret services, it is, as always with the Illuminati, a pyramidal structure, like a pyramid.
Right.
The top of the pyramid is Mossad, because Mossad is the secret service, not of Israel, it's a false flag, but from the Rothschilds, the bank house Rothschild. On the second level of this pyramid is MI6, MI5, the British ones, because the banking system is very powerful in London. And then on the third level, equal are the Russians and the Americans, and then others are coming lower, like the Swedes and Germans and so on. They don't have to say so much, the secret services.
Yeah.
And the research is done in DARPA, that we know, and in the Swedish FOA. This is corresponding to DARPA in Sweden. And they are working together with the Karolinska Institute, the Karolinska Hospital, which is so known, giving the Nobel Prize in medicine. But we can't pinpoint all the people who are working with it. We only know these institutions are doing it here in Sweden, because they have fundings together and people, personal from both sides together, working on the Human Brain Project, for example.
Yeah. Do you think that the Wallenberg Foundation is part of it?
Probably yes.
Yeah,
Because Wallenberg is the most mighty family behind the curtain here in Sweden. It's the only family in Europe owning more than 1/3 of all the industry in Sweden. There's no other family in Europe being so powerful in that way.
Yeah, because we found some evidence, and this is available at ecologynews.com, connecting the Wallenberg family to funding the Tromsø, Norway heart facility.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That would be very good to get some evidence there.
Yeah, we can do. One other question. We found very close links between the British and the Dutch monarchies and the City of London bankers, that is the bloodline banking families, the Rothschild and 13 families, because they're all part of the Illuminati. Is that something you found as well?
Yes, but we don't like to talk about it in this forum because it is on a level which is not so easy for everybody to access.
I see.
Especially Sweden is a very suppressed country.
I see.
And if you come on that level, and perhaps that's not only humans being interfered, then people say you are crazy and don't buy anything from you.
I see.
We said in Turkish we make a line there, we give an indication to the Illuminati, to the families, and then that the cesspit is much deeper, to take it with David Icke.
Yeah.
You know, but we don't mention it because it interferes too much with our approach to tackle the situation.
No, and just in that same vein, some of our research, which is more on the exopolitical side, has shown that a specific species of gray extraterrestrial, the Orion Greys, in alliance with the Draco reptilians, they may have actually been the species that brought the mind control technology to the planet, which was disseminated both to the US government and to the Third Reich in the early 30s. Is that something that you've come across? Or?
Of course, and I could tell you a lot about it, but I don't want it because we want to take out
focus.
This part, because the mind control and the brainwashing on those items is so strong that it would be stupid from our point of view to attack on that front if we can much easier attack on other fronts.
Yes. Very, very good. Excellent. Well, this is extraordinary. Magnus, are there any final words here on the panel area about general plans or your vision for the future that you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I would like to say like this. We have the consciousness. They do not. That's my point of view. And we can use it, and as they call it, some researchers call it, that these microchipping technologies will bring an international consciousness and so on. But as I understand, we humans, we have been through a lot over the evolution, and this is something we will also come over. We will fight, and we have to spread the awareness, because this subject might be one of the hardest tries for the human race.
Thank you so much. Henning, what sort of thoughts would you like to leave as to your plans, your final vision, as to where all of this is going, and what your plans and expectations are?
Yes, the focus is on technology to give protection. We tried with these scalar wave devices. It didn't help so well because they could override them, and therefore we just now have the focus on gold. Magnus, you can shortly perhaps give an information how it improved your situation, the homeopathic gold.
Yes, as I understand it, the human resonance is getting higher and higher worldwide. I mean, it's something that is constant all over, and these technologies in some way counteract with this. And as this goal that I've been eating now for a couple of 2 months is for sure showing up a good result in the manner of that I can sleep much better, and sleep is one of the key factors of surviving. And the dream manipulation is not at all happening anymore for me, and I can easily disrupt and change my thought network as I can choose different. It's much easier to choose another level of consciousness, and that's very hard to describe. A lot of people do it through meditation and so on, but there is ways you can learn how to program yourself to so to speak block out their influencing, and that's something. Yeah, the human firewall, that's what I'm speaking about. But you have to learn it. You have to do not give up, because we have much more power than we believe and we know. Much more power.
Where can our viewers go, not only to follow your work, but to learn more about what you're recommending?
Well, I have a website. It's one of the most visited ones in the subject mind control in the world. It's mindcontrol.se, and there is also another one with a lot of good articles called nanobrainimplant.com, and there is also another one called mind/computer.com. And there is a lot of articles that and there is enough to prove the situations for us who are targeted. But as I wish to see in a couple of years, is that these kind of weapons are that it should be possible to defend your own life. It's every human's right to defend yourself, and that means that as Henning says, we have to find the way how to protect ourselves, because otherwise we are lost. But we're working on it also. So I'm looking forward to at least in one decennium, we will see have a better state and be able to protect ourselves.
Thank you. Well, on that optimistic note, I want to thank you both, and thank Melanie, who we will interview now as part of the panel, and wish you all the best on your work. Thank you.
Yeah, short. I have also a website. TV channel. It is both in Swedish and English. Most is in Swedish, but I have a lot of English interviews and even articles. The main menu is practical conspiracies, because they always say you are a conspiracy theorist, and they say I'm a practical conspiracist, because I was victim for several conspiracies. And under that menu, practical conspiracies, there is a menu, Mind Control MK Ultra. And there are all the interviews and other research collected, and a lot of stuff is in English, at least the films, even if the introductional text is in Swedish.
Excellent.
www.whitetv.se.
Excellent. This has really elevated the discourse in this area being with you today. And I'm sure that our viewers are going to get a great deal out of it. And I want to commend you on your work in this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred.
Thank you very much. Melanie Vritschan. And Melanie, we've come to you finally, and you're not part of the panel because we've had technical difficulties bringing you in. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to ask you, what has to happen to stop these crimes? First of all, in terms of an international ban on these types of weapons that would enable any form of manipulation of the human being. How do you envision this happening?
Yes, in fact, I know that in 1999, actually the European Parliament made a resolution that actually saying that they wanted, create appropriate EU legislation to actually have an international ban on any weapons that would enable any form of manipulation of human being. And that was in 1999. I think it was, the resolution was taken, I think, on the 28th of January, 1999. And we're now in 2013, and this resolution, is still just a resolution. So we think it's absolutely imperative that this will actually be transferred, formed into an EU directive. And this is what we're basically doing in the European Parliament. Our lobbying efforts go in this direction. This is what we would ultimately see appropriate EU legislation created to stop these kind of abuses and to prevent these weapons from being developed and used, or that citizens are abused with them. So it is clear that we do not have such a law, and the legislation that we have is clearly not appropriate, because it doesn't protect us. Then what we're doing in the European Parliament to actually get their attention and to prove this is with ISAC, the International Center of Against Abuse of Covert Technologies. What we're doing, I don't know if Magnus and Henning explained this before, is that we do radio frequency scans. We offer this free of charge. Any person that thinks that he or she could be victimized with this technology can come to us, and we're scanning these people for radio frequency emissions. We did this last year in London. We had about 40 people that came, and over 50% were positive. And actually, the method is that we do a preliminary scan. People that are positive, we then ask them to help us to provide medical imagery in form of an MRI scan, CT scan, or digital panoramic X-ray, whatever it may be, to see if where we found the emission on that specific body point, there's something what we call an unidentified bright object, which is basically an implant, to see if that matches up. And then the third phase, and this is what we just did in Belgium, and where the people actually, the members of the European Parliament were very interested in, because it's some kind of proof that this is happening, is that we tested these people again in a Faraday cage, basically in a controlled environment. And the people that came up positive in our preliminary scan in London did also come up positive in the Faraday cage. So we could prove that the emission really came from the body of the person. And we had about 15 victims that we tested. And then we also had a control group. These were people that had generally no symptoms, that were generally associated with electronic terrorism, because it is terrorism to implant a person against their consent and then torture the person with this technology. They didn't have any symptoms, signs of symptoms, and the frequency counter read 0, and there was nothing that could be measured. So I very much insisted on having this control group, because to substantiate the findings. With this result, we went to the European Parliament and we submitted them. We showed the member of Parliament of the European Parliament that we met, showed them these results, and when they saw this, then the decision was taken that we should testify in front of the Libby Committee, which is the Committee for Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs, and that's what we're just doing. So it's some kind of proof that we have to basically lobby with the members of the European Parliament to create such legislation.
Very good. Excellent. Now, how do you think that the war criminals behind this and are going to be held accountable, and there'll be some sort of justice here, compensation for the victims, which is worldwide, actually? How do you think that can occur?
Well, I mean, we're looking to the past. I mean, the MK Ultra victims, and that was exposed in the 70s, and I think it was very much because of the victims and the survivors and their families actually lobbied to expose this criminal program, MK Ultra. And I know that there was compensation paid to, maybe not very much, but to the survivors and their families. So because of the church committee, it was made public. This program. Well, I think we need actually a second church committee, something like that. And this is what we're trying to do, at least in Europe. But first, before this can happen, of course, we have to raise awareness in the public that this is actually happening. And I can only say that there was we did several things. We organized a demonstration in March. On the 14th of March, there was a European Council meeting, and we demonstrated there with a banner and flyers, and we talked to people to make them aware that this is actually happening, and they were outraged. They couldn't believe it. There's, what is going on? So there was, I think, it was a big step for the public actually to be made aware of that these crimes are happening, which I think is the first step that we can ultimately bring these war criminals, because these are war crimes. I mean, at least we vision it like this, to justice. And this last week, on the 22nd of May, there was again a European Council meeting. So we went there and we found a group of journalists. And first of all, you always have this reaction, saying, well, first of all, they have to be made aware, the public and the media. And first of all, we got this, they were very interested, but they were like, a little bit incredulous. They were like, are you sure this is happening in Europe?
Yeah.
Something that would happen like in Colombia, or I said, no, this is happening in the European Union. And we showed them the evidence we had, that we had collected, what I was just talking about, the scanning in the Faraday cage and the results we had. And I think this is the first step. We need to make the public aware that this has happened and wake up the media. And that way we will be able to put some pressure, on our politicians. And then ultimately, I really do hope that we bring these war criminals to justice. I know it's very, very difficult task because it is so deniable. But I think these results we had in the Faraday cage, that they cannot be denied. I mean, it is proof that these people are emitting radio frequencies, and it's not normal for the human body to emit radio frequencies.
Now, Now, what sort of a tribunal or court do you think is going to judge these? Or
Well, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so it would be good to ask Henning the
No,
question.
I
What he
did.
does.
Yeah.
But
But I just want to
just,
see your
yeah,
answer since you.
what I think is, well, I know that normally the rule is if you want to, go to the European Court on Human Rights, for example, or the International Criminal Court in The Hague, is that you normally have to show that you have, that your national court systems are either unwilling or unable to deal with this kind of, situation or, cases. In my case, I have had the proof that they are definitely either not willing or not able to, just to, deal with this kind of thing because,
Right.
so I personally, I think I could take it further now, but I would very much like us to do this as a group
Yeah.
because we have so many victims, and so I think, but before we were able to do this, and this is my last how to say project or idea, is that I have found out that we have here at the Brussels University actually a bioethics research institute,
Uh-huh.
which I was just recently, I found this out. And what I would like to do now, Alfred, is we had just this weekend with ISAC, we had a conference, like a meeting, with, where these results that we had in Brussels, when we did the scanning here in the Faraday cage, it's a 50-page report, were presented. And what I would like to do is actually to get all these results of the people that we have scanned and that were positive without outside the Faraday cage and in the Faraday cage, to put these results together and actually send that to the Bioethics Research Institute to ask them for their experts to give us an opinion. And if this, they would, which I very much hope that they will confirm that this is, a non-consensual experimentation. Well, then we have to take it. I think we have a better, base, or to take that, to the European Court on Human Rights. That's what I envisage, but I mean, I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me, what kind of a final question for our viewers? What are your sort of future projects and vision for where this is all going to go?
Well, for me, this is really one of the worst crimes, that has ever been committed in history. And what I think is that we have to expose this now. We have to stand up now, because otherwise, our children are all gonna end up being basically biological. Beings. This totally alters the human nature. If we don't put an end to this. So, and I'm certainly determined, and we are all in UCAT to do everything we can to, make this expose this and bring it to an end, and have this international ban on weapons that enable any form of manipulation of the human being created. This has to happen for us. That this doesn't go further, because I think the plan is really, from what I see, the amount of victims, and also the victims they get every time they get younger. I mean, we had in these tests, we had children of 5 years of age being implanted. I mean, emitting radio frequency. So I would say, my appeal to the public would be, help us to save our children from electronic slavery, because the plan is to enslave all humanity via these technologies. And we have to be, act very fast, because this program, or whatever it is, it's been very much advanced. Because I can just say that we get very young victims, and when we have these scannings all over in Brussels, or not in Belgium and in other European countries, what I was saying is that we have found, I mean, we had just a scanning here in Brussels this weekend, where we had 100% of people that came were positive. And the one that we did in London, this group that we then tested in the Faraday cage, there was over 50%. So this is, an enormous rate. So that gives us an indication how quickly this global enslavement program basically is implemented. And I think it's very worrying because, and we all have to band together now, everybody, because if this is the future, we want for our children or grandchildren, okay, then, we just don't have to do anything, and they will implement this global transhumanism program, programs of control. If we don't, then we all have to band together and speak up and basically expose this.
Right. Now, if people want to get in touch with your organization, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yes, we have, our website is eucatch.org, so EUCACH.org. And there is a contact form where how people can contact us. And ISA Act is the same. You can send us an email. If you're in the United States, you can send to us@isaact.org. And if you're in the EU, then it's EU@isaac.org. There's also a contact form, and people can contact us this way. And with UCatch, we just the website is going to be finished in the next few weeks, and of course we'll all have them personal emails as well if they want to contact us personally.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for helping bring together this panel. And it looks like your organization. I mean, for me, it's one of the highest standards of work that I've come across, and it looks like you're really beginning to make a global impact. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the interview.